We love that alignment. Okay, so let's start. This is a little scary, but something I really want to do because I love sharing my voice. I love sharing my thoughts. And what better way to do that than create a platform? Super into astrology, just to preface that. So you're going to hear me say a lot of references to certain signs, specifically my own because I know a lot about them. But I'm a Gemini stellium in the eighth house. So, surprise, surprise, this is going to be a channel focused on spiritual topics. And yes, I do plan on doing a lot of different modalities related to writing and speaking, hence why I'm starting this platform. I want to introduce Back to Divinity. It's a platform that I hope to continue to grow over the years, but as of now, I just want it to be a digital content creation sort of platform and also something in which I share some of my writing projects related to some of the themes that will be discussed throughout years that Back to Divinity continues to exist. So, first introduction of me. So, who am I? The woman behind Back to Divinity. So, Back to Divinity was created by Hey Rodriguez, moi. So, why did this come in the first place? So, in 2020, due to COVID, as we all know, the pandemic forced a lot of us to like sit down and sit with ourselves for some time. It forced me to really like look at my inner core and figure out who faith really is. I think before that, I was just moving on autopilot. And I think a lot of us can probably resonate with that. And after just taking a second to sit with, okay, like what are my deeper desires? Where is my heart at? And, like where are we going in life? And at that point, I was a sophomore in college. So, larger questions that I think a lot of us were kind of questioning around that time, that age range, especially for me, was something that kind of just became exacerbated as a result of the pandemic. And so, with that time to sit with myself, I had what I consider a spiritual awakening. In modern day spirituality, I think a lot of us are very familiar with the term, but I think for me, a spiritual awakening meant that I really sat with my spirit and really figured out who faith was at a soul level. And I don't think I really understood that prior to that, or rather, didn't have a conscious awareness of it. And so after sitting with myself for that time, I realized how important to me it was to question my existence and question my beliefs at the time. I've gone through a lot of various different shifts when it comes to my beliefs. I did grow up in Harlem, New York. Shout out to Harlem. So I was around various religions and different cultures and backgrounds. And as a result, I learned a lot from other people. And I think it did put me in a constant place of questioning. Hence the Gemini, a lot of curiosity. And the Scorpio 8th house theme just makes me really want to dig deeper. So a lot of that was sort of awakened within 2020, hence the term awakening of the spirit. And so as a result of sitting with myself between 2020 and 2024, a lot happened within the heart space, pain that cracked it open, sitting with pain that was already there prior, and not realizing that it was there and working through that and things of that sort, so that I can really have that like direct line of communication where that mind, body, spirit isn't blocked off by any blockages as it's trying to create, which leads me to a really big point that I learned, which was my place in society and realizing that we are all co-creators with Earth and the universe. And that put me in a position of power in a way that I didn't necessarily feel before. And I think sometimes as humans, we're looking for some sort of understanding. And I think that was the understanding that I got to co-creation that's constantly happening in tandem with the universe. Hence why Back to Divinity is centered around the individual and the collective journey, right? Because the individual journey is super significant. It opens up the heart space. It allows you to have that vocal alignment because you can express your ideas in a very aligned way because you're aligned with source. But then as a result of that, that energy emits out into the environment, and then the collective, engages with that energy. So we're constantly having an energy that is existing in tandem with our own. So pretty cool stuff there, I think. And so as a result of having all those foundation shifts between 2020 and 2024, hence the number 4 foundations, it brought me to finally be in a place where I feel stable enough and secure enough to be able to express some of those ideas that I had. I think I constantly was doubting myself, in a lot of ways, like what is it that I can say that possibly isn't already being said, or what if the reaction from the audience isn't one that is desired, right? And I think it really got me back to questioning, like, why am I doing this in the first place? And the reality is that energy is something that's very tricky, but super important. And I think that we don't talk enough about energy work as a collective. As somebody who grew up in this world as a Scorpio rising, my view of society is very much in a way of like constant death and rebirth energy. I think that gifted me with the hindsight of, we constantly are transmuting energy. And that is what co creating is in this environment, right? We're working with energies and we're shifting it so that it can work in relation with our goals. And if our goals are in alignment with the universe, if we're listening to our heart in a very aligned way, then it's going to be in alignment with the rest of the collective. And I think that that's a place we all need to be getting into. And so I want to sort of help the collective listen to their heart a little bit more. Hence, one of the biggest things under Back to Divinity that you'll notice is for the children of the sky, right? So where did that come from, right? So for the children of the sky came from this music video that I came across. Rather, I came across a song first. And I heard the song one day. I was walking outside of a store. I heard the song, and I'm like, wow, like I really like the beat. Like I'm a big beats girly, so I'm liking the beat. I'm like, okay, this feels good. And after having heard the song, I was just so obsessed, and I kept on hearing it play in my mind. And I'm like, okay, there's a message in that song. Like, there's a reason why it's so significant for me. I need to figure it out. We're gonna search this up. So I'm searching it up, and it's hard because I'm like searching up do 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 do. Like, what do? Because I'm like, I don't know what the lyrics are. I just remember the beat. Somehow, some way, by the grace of God, the song came into my hands, and it was "World Hold On" by Bob Sinclair. So that was great. I hadn't heard of this person before, or if I had, it just wasn't something that rang a bell in my head. I mean, I did grow up in a Dominican American household. I was more familiar with Spanish speaking music, but at that time, I was very intrigued by this song. So again, I'm exploring it, and I finally come across it. I'm listening to the lyrics, and it's saying, like, world, hold on. Take a second to look deeper inside and open up our hearts, right? It's because one day we'll have to answer to the children of the sky. A lot just kind of like boiled up as a result of listening to that song. Like, oh my God, why do we need to hold on? What's deeper inside? Who are the children of the sky? Why are we answering to them? What's going on, right? Like, just all of these thoughts circulating through my brain. And I know that a lot of people probably have their own perceptions of what the song means to them, but I'm going to share what it meant for me, right? So the children of the sky to me, the way that I interpreted that was that we are the children of the sky, and we have to answer to ourselves one day. We have to look at our life one day. Many people call it a life review, right? See a movie of your life, basically. And so, we have to answer to ourselves one day and really question the lifetime that we had, or lifetimes, and really sit with our soul's development, our soul's growth, and our ascension journey. I'm like, okay, so we are the children of the sky. We're answering to ourselves. We also are made of 97% stardust, roughly around there. So we are always one with source. I mean, like, we are literally one with the universe. We're mirroring each other in our ascension journey here on earth. It's about doing the journey and taking those moments to sit with that stillness and see where you are and where you are progressing, and take the little tweaks and do the necessary changes to get to a level of supreme vibration, divinity, in essence. So, children of the sky, that being us, we all have a huge heart. I mean, we are moved by love, emotion and things of that sort. Our heart center is a big one. It's the heart chakra, right? And so when we think about that major source for us, that driving force, it's like we have to make sure that our desires are in alignment, not with our ego or with what our neighbor wants us to do, right? But we have to make sure that our desires are fully being formed and felt from a place of source. Source is the reason why I feel this desire, because if I'm craving it, it's probably because it's meant for me, right? It's probably because it's meant for me to do that later on, right? So that's the sort of mentality that Back to Divinity wants us to get to. We have to get to a point where we can trust our ability to decide what we believe and what we don't, right? Like a filtration system. So much information is going to be thrown at us, especially as, in the day and age of AI. And we have to think about, okay, what am I going to allow to stay with me? What is just going to pass away, right? With that in mind, we have to develop that inner voice. We have to feel comfortable listening to that voice. Again, the individual and the collective journey are one. At the end of the day, we should, listen to what other people have to say, of course. But how do we know whether that is correct or not? How do we know that what they're saying isn't going to harm you, right? How do you know? And the only way to know is by starting to understand how energy works, right? Understanding your own energy, being able to read that, being able to read your desires, and when you feel pulled to something, right? So when I'm watching a YouTube video, I know that it feels in alignment with me because I feel intuitively, wow, that feels true to me and to my soul, right? But then there are times where I'm watching something and I'm like, you know what? That didn't feel right. You believe differently, right? But that is an example of trusting your inner voice. There are times where you believe, there are times where you're questioning, right? And that's okay. That's good to do. We have to trust ourselves and trust our inner compass, right? That guides us, that lets us know, ding, 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 this person is saying something like completely accurate and like, woo, wee, wee, like stop real quick. Like this is not making sense. And so Back to Divinity is really all about like getting us to like really understand what's that inner voice and how do we find that? How do we know that it is our inner voice and that it's not our ego and that it's not like, the wounded version of ourselves and that it's not the inner child that, felt lack and it's not the teenage self that felt imposter syndrome. How do we know that thoughts and the things that are driving us are fully formed by the transmuted energy and not the pain, right? Okay, now let's circle back to Back to Divinity and some of our goals. I know I mentioned digital content creation as being one of them, but I'm just gonna like end off the video by just saying a little bit more specifically some of our writing goals. Youth development is something I totally am passionate about, aside from spirituality and astrology. And I think sometimes I even look at spirituality and astrology through the lens of my passion for youth development. So as a result, I do hope to one day not only publish my own children's books, specifically focused through a lens of spirituality and awakening some of those core themes and beliefs that I feel intuitively connected to. Also, I hope to one day share my parenthood journey with you all and examine that through the lens of spirituality. Maybe a little dabble of astrology there because I'm obsessed. But all in all, really grateful that you all took the time, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, to hear me out and hear what Back to Divinity hopes to offer. And if you are interested, please join our community. We're Back to Divinity on all platforms, and hopefully we'll be launching videos soon. Already kind of just diving into the topics. I mean, it wouldn't be a true spiritual channel if I kind of like organized all of my topics out one by one. I think what I'm learning is that we're, again, individual and collective. So the individual might be like, oh, I know what to talk about today. And the collective is like, I have other news for you. And the wave comes through and it's like the collective is going through something else and they need something else, right? And so I'm just here to listen to a collective and work with the collective as a co-creator, create these videos and this content in a way that hopefully meets you right in divine timing. Thank you for listening and have a good one.